This is Android Basics, in which we bring you up to date on the things that you should know to use your Android phone.
Now we turn to our Android Basics section, and this week it's all about Android 14 Beta 3, which, as predicted, I think by Warren, dropped on the 7th of June. He picked two dates, as you'll hear in a minute, when it might have dropped, and on Wednesday, sure enough, it arrived. And I'm going to hand over now to Warren to give us a little bit of a preamble and show us what's new.
A few weeks ago, while we were recording one of our episodes, we got to talking about when Android 14 Beta 3 would drop. We speculated that it may be dropping on Monday, June the 5th, or it would be dropping on Wednesday, June the 7th. Sure enough, this past Wednesday, June 7th, it dropped upon us, and that's what we're talking about. Indeed, a lot of the things that are in this version are mainly having to do with visuals, but we're not left in the cold. Besides the privacy matters that have been improved, we've got a couple things that we'll be talking about, and we'll be looking at Android Accessibility version 14, which means we now have a brand new talkback in the way of talkback version 14. We'll also be talking about the customization on the lock screen. In other words, being able to add items to the lock screen so you don't have to unlock your screen to use those things you want to be able to have access to right from the lock screen. We've got like 7 or so items that you could add, or, choose whatever it is that is of importance to you and add that to your lock screen. I'll be showing you how to go about doing that, but I do want to mention here in passing that as of Beta 3 of Android 14, this has reached what we call the platform stability. In other words, there aren't going to be any new APIs getting introduced. So if you're a developer and you've been waiting to get to this stage before you develop an app that's compatible with Android 14, this is the time to do so, as there won't be any new APIs getting introduced. The last beta is going to come next month, and if Google keeps to its schedule like what it did last year, we'll be seeing a public release of Android 14 in August. Now let's go back and talk about what we wanted to talk about, and we're talking about the customization on the lock screen. I do want to mention that in order to be able to customize this lock screen, you've got a couple ways of doing so. The first one would be to long press, that is double tapping and then holding the lock screen. And at the bottom is a toast message that says something like customized lock screen. This toast only appears for like 5 or so seconds. And if you don't tap on it within those few seconds, it disappears and you'll have to long press again in order to be able to get to it. I will show you both methods, that is from the lock screen itself and as well as from after you unlock the lock screen and gotten to the home screen. Let's go ahead though and get started. I'm going to unlock my phone and we'll start from the lock screen.
9:21 p.m. System.
I am on my lock screen and now I'm going to double tap and hold.
46%. Customize lock screen. Authenticate 46%. Issue.
And it says authenticate.
Fingerprint sensor.
And my fingerprint doesn't work too well on this Pixel 7.
Pin unlock. Fingerprint
and so
not recognized.
I'm going to just put in the fake pin that I created, 1111111 6 times.
1 1 1 1 1 1.
Let me see how many ones I got.
2. Pin area. 5 characters. Edit box.
One more.
4 1 1 1.
All right, let's unlock it.
Enter. Wallpaper and style. Lock screen.
There we go. So we are on a screen that says wallpaper and style. At the top, we got a couple tabs. On the left, we got one that says lock screen, and to the right, we hear home screen. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Lock screen.
So we are on lock screen, and by default, the default is the lock screen, and then on the right,
home screen
is the home screen. So we're talking about this lock screen. In other words, if I want to add an icon to the bottom of my screen so that I don't have to unlock my screen before I launch that app. Let's say I want to add the camera there, or I want to add the QR code scanner, or one of those things. That's what we're talking about here. Now, scrolling down a little bit toward the middle of the phone, toward the bottom, in the middle, we hear something that has to do with clock color and size.
Clock color and size.
We hear clock, color, and size. Below that, from left to right, we got some unlabeled buttons, and those things have to do with the clock size, the color, and then also with like the lock screen images, and they are unlabeled.
Unlabeled.
Move to the right,
Unlabeled.
unlabeled,
Unlabeled.
unlabeled,
Unlabeled.
unlabeled. And then below that, we have wallpapers.
Unlabeled.
And those say unlabeled too, and those are the images that will show on the home screen. But if you tap on one of those, it will activate the wallpapers. And below that, we have more wallpaper.
More wallpapers.
Tap there, it will take you to different categories of wallpapers that you could choose from. The one, though, we want to talk about is that adding the shortcut. So you could launch an app from within the lock screen. Looking toward the bottom on the left, we come across something that talks about shortcut.
Shortcuts. None.
And it says shortcuts, none. So if we tap here, it will show us all the things that are available to adding onto the lock screen. Now, below here, we hear something like,
Show notifications on the lock screen.
and then all the way at the bottom.
More lock screen options. Privacy. Now playing. And more.
And if you tap here, you'll see all the different things. Let's go in here quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Some of them are new, especially like the one that will say shortcuts or lock screen shortcuts. And then a lot of them here are just things that you're familiar with. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Lock screen. Navigate up. Button.
And we got
Lock screen.
move down. We got privacy. And I'm just going to move through these items. And if you hear some noises, I'm sorry, I got like maybe 10 teenagers here at my home this weekend. So I'm just going to go through this and we'll go ahead and then finish what we're talking about.
Add text on lock screen. None. 3 of 12. Use device controls without unlocking your phone. Switch off. 4 of 12. Shortcuts. 5 of 12.
That's the shortcuts that we'll be talking about.
Double line clock. Show double line clock when available. Switch on. 6 of 12. Now playing. Identify songs playing nearby. 7 of 12. When to show. Heading. 8 of 12. Always show time and info. Increased battery usage. Switch off. 9 of 12. Tap to check phone. Off. 10 of 12. Lift to check phone. Off. 11 of 12. Wake screen for notifications. When screen is dark, it turns on for new notifications. Switch off. 12 of 12.
And that's the last one. Now we could scroll back up and tap on the shortcuts or go back to the previous screen. And that's what I'm going to do.
Wallpaper and style.
And now I'm going to find and tap on that shortcuts.
Shortcuts. None.
Shortcuts, none. I tap.
Shortcuts. Back. Button.
Now that we are on this screen, we got two tabs. We got the left screen shortcut and the right screen shortcut just above the items that one could add to the left or to the right bottom part of the lock screen. So in other words, if you add one of these, if you choose the left screen and you choose one of these things, whether it's QR code scanner, the camera, the mute, or the do not disturb, it'll be adding it to the bottom left part of your lock screen. If you choose the right screen, it'll be adding that icon to your right bottom part of the lock screen. Here's what I'm talking about.
Left shortcut. Selected. 1 of 2.
So
In
we
list.
got
2 items.
left shortcut selected. If I move my finger to the right edge,
Right shortcut. 2 of 2.
right shortcut is not selected. So by default, anything I add right now will be adding to the bottom left of my lock screen. And these are the items that we have that we could choose from. We've got the following.
QR code scanner. 2 of 8. In list. 8 items.
We got QR code scanner, and to the right of it,
Flashlight. 3 of 8. Device controls. 4 of 8. Wallet. 5 of 8. Mute. 6 of 8. Camera. 7 of 8. Do not disturb. 8 of 8.
and do not disturb. So for example, let's say I want to add camera to the bottom left corner of my lock screen.
Camera. 7 of 8.
All I have to do is tap,
Camera.
and that is added. So when I go to my lock screen, I'll be seeing that camera there at the bottom left corner. Now, if I want to add something to the right, corner of my lock screen. Now I need to tap on the tab that says right
shortcut. 2 of 2. In
right
list,
shortcut
2 items.
tab.
Right shortcut. Selected.
So
2 of
right
2.
shortcut is selected. And let's say we want to add
QR code scanner. 2 of 8. In list, 8
QR
items.
code scanner there at the bottom. I tap.
QR code scanner.
And that is added. I do want to mention here that this does not mean that it will show up on your home screen. Rather, it will only be shown on the lock screen. Now I'm going to exit out here and go back home.
Home.
And
Home.
now
Out.
I'm going to go to the lock screen, hit the power button to shut off the phone.
Screen off. Ringer
And now I'm
silent.
going to turn the screen back on.
9:31 p.m. System UI.
Now that I have the screen back on my bottom left, I should find
Camera.
the
Button.
camera. And if I
51% issue
move
with
to the
charging
right
accessory.
edge or swipe to the right,
QR code scanner. Button.
QR code scanner. Now, what I like about these shortcuts
Ringer
is
silent.
that you have to long press in order to activate. So in other words, you're not going to accidentally activate those without intending to do so. You must long press in order to activate. Now, I show you how
9:31
what I'm
p.m.
talking about
System UI.
by long pressing on one of them. Let's say I want to long press on
Camera.
the
Button.
camera.
Off. 0 faces. Camera.
There we go. My
Camera
camera
settings.
got
Open
launched.
Lock screen.
Now
No-
let's move on to the second
51%
method,
issue with
and
charging.
I'm going to unlock
Moves
my
pin
screen,
unlocked. Enter your pin.
and I'm going to put that 111111 6 times again to unlock. I use that fake locking code.
1 1 1 1 1 1 1.
I believe I have 6 of them rather.
Pin area. 6 characters. Edit box.
All
Selected.
right, now let's activate.
Enter. Device lock. Enter your
There
pin.
we go. We
Device
are on the home screen now.
Folder. Navigation. 4.
And all I need to do is find an empty spot on my home screen and then swipe down till I hear it say wallpaper and style.
Home.
Swipe down,
Apps list.
swipe down,
Wallpaper and style.
tap.
Wallpaper and style. Lock.
Now it brought me back to that page where we have
Wallpaper. Lock screen.
at the top lock screen and then to the right
Home
the
screen.
home screen. And then if I move down, I got,
Clock color and size.
of course, and if I swipe down, I still find the,
Shortcuts. Camera. QR code scanner.
so we hear shortcut, QR code, scanner, and camera. Those are the 2. So if I want to remove them, all I need to do is tap here.
Shortcuts. Back. Button.
And then at the bottom here, all I need to do is tap the first one, which is going to say none, and it'll clear both the left and right shortcuts.
None. 1 of 8. In list.
Tab.
8 items.
I have tapped on none. And now if I go home, for example,
Home. Home. Out.
and I shut off the screen,
Screen off. Ringer
now
silent.
I turn it back on,
9:34 p.m.
and at the bottom,
52% issue with
I don't
charging
have
accessory.
anything on either the left or the bottom left part of my lock screen. And that's how you go about adding or removing icons on your lock screen. I'll now hand you over to the podcast crew as we deliberate upon these things.
So how are we feeling about Android 14 Beta 3 now, folks? Obviously, it was a bit unstable in its first iterations. I think there was universal agreement that it might have been the worst ever Android beta. But John, do you have it? Are you happy with it?
I do have it. I haven't noticed too much new as far as the actual operating system. I don't use that phone too often, but I'm very excited about TalkBack 14, which I'm assuming we'll get to in a minute. But maybe Warren is the one who should tell us that what's new in Android 14 Beta 3, if there's anything else other than what he demonstrated with the lock screen shortcuts.
Well, I think for me, though, like Ed says, this probably Android 14, the whole thing has been the worst thing. It reminds me so much of Windows Millennium, back in, 2000, that awful baby that was taken out early. It shouldn't have been born. Excuse my Espanol. But Android 14 has been absolutely awful until this recent current one that we have. Nothing has. I mean, even the first developer preview was actually better than betas 1 and 2. Beta, it's just awful. I can't even describe how bad it was. But I'm happy with what we got. Of course, I did. What my doctrine has always been is to do that reset to make sure. And sure enough, I haven't experienced any single crash like what was happening. I mean, beta 2 kind of helped a little bit to where I was at least getting that crash like maybe once a day or once every 2 days. So far since I got the beta 3, I haven't observed one single thing. And like I said in that preamble, this has reached that platform stability. So it better not be messing up. And I like it. Nothing really new besides what I just mentioned earlier. But like John says, we got that talkback 14. And for those of us who are blind, probably this is the most exciting part of it, as far as I can see.
So, Orin, I was wondering, I was reading in some websites, they say using Pixel 7, there are some crashes when you open camera app. Do you have that, or have you tried that one?
So that was like in the previous betas. I haven't, seen that happening. That was fixed. I think actually the fix came out with that little beta 2.1. So no, that's no longer an issue.
Austin, have you installed Beta 3 yet?
So for me, I have the Pixel 7a, and I checked in May, the whole month of May. I checked in early June, like June 5th, and the beta 2.1 was not available. We could not enroll Pixel 7a in the beta program. But then when beta 3 rolled, that time Pixel 7a got the beta. So I installed the beta, and it has been, like Warren said, very stable. The camera does not crash. There are no crashes that I've seen till now. The changes, however, are nothing much to tell about. It's all visual changes. So for low vision people, it will be very good. Like they've added one color here, one shortcut there, one toggle, some toggles here and there. So not much of a changes if you are totally visually challenged. But for low vision, they can use some of the changes, and they are going more ahead of the material view. So lots of changes in way of visual changes in Android 14, but it is very stable, and I hope the next betas don't mess up, because developer 1 was stable, developer 2 then started falling, and beta 1, beta 2 was unstable, but beta 3 is back to stability, and I hope the next betas and the RCs don't mess it up.
Do you observe any overheating with the new preview?
In fact, the Pixel 7a used to heat with Android 13 stable. As my Pixel review, I said that with the 5G network on, it just heated like crazy. But in the new preview, they have fixed the heating, so it does not heat that much. However, I will use it more on 5G, and maybe in the next podcast, or I will make a YouTube short explaining if it heats up or not.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. My Pixel 5 isn't heating up, but I don't have a SIM in it. So if it's the 5G that's causing that, then my phone wouldn't experience it.
Yeah, it is the 5G that is causing it, because it didn't heat up on Wi-Fi or 4G on Android 13. But now even 5G does not heat up.
I think that the whole 5G thing is a battery killer, if you ask me. I don't, like if I'm home, I don't turn my mobile data on because it just kills your battery. So I don't like that.
Should we talk about Talkback 14? Who wants to walk us through this? Warren, do you want to first go at it?
I think that for the Android 14 or TalkBack 14, one of the major things that really excites us has to do, with the Braille support, especially, I think maybe like people have been clamoring for wanting to be able to do grade 2 input and all of that, particularly maybe US Braille and British Braille and all of that. People have been clamoring for that. I always use uncontracted Braille when I'm typing. So for me, it doesn't matter, but I know a lot of people want that input. And I think we have that. Anyone test that part? I didn't try it.
Yeah, I have. Interestingly, it's not listed as a new feature. So when you go to the What's New in Talkback, but I've wanted it for the longest time. So I went in just to see out of interest if they've added it. They have, and it's amazing. So hopefully we can drive a metaphorical stake through the heart of UEB on our Android devices. Useless English Braille, I like to call it. Fee likes it.
Yes,
Fee?
I like it.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
For a start, you can't do smileys in old Braille because it doesn't know which bracket you mean.
No, but also you can't. You've lost a whole bunch of contractions, which makes it much bulkier. All sorts of gratuitous
Yeah, but if you're
symbols
typing
we
on a
never
phone,
needed.
that doesn't matter really, does it? And
It does. What about Asian or Ali or one of these other?
Because it would be a capital N. That's why, or a capital Y.
Yeah, but context is everything. It's at the end. It only ever worked at the end.
I know, but nowadays some people spell things really weird and have some small letters and some capitals, so it means that it's ultra clear, maybe too clear. But
It's
I
ultra
like
long
UEB
and tedious. I very much.
I like it.
This is my
What I'll
take
say, though.
on UEB. It used to be, the whole idea about Braille is space saving. We try to save space. And with UEB, actually, we want to, consume more space. And I just find it so annoying. But of course, we're not the experts. We don't necessarily know what we're talking about. So the people that know most decide for us. This is how it ought to be. And it just defeats that whole purpose of saving space, if you ask me.
Lots of those people are cited as well. Let's just
some of the signs are a bit weird and a bit sort of ridiculous. I agree, some of them are, but actually, if you were learning Braille from new, I think UEB would probably be a bit easier to understand. Like, for example, if you're reading the word disaster and you're sort of part way through learning, you might think, why have they put full stop aster? Some of the stuff we're used to it, but actually, if you're a newcomer, it could be quite muddly and confusing. And is that a dis or is that a double D? And I can see why they've changed some of them.
You learn the rules. I mean, obviously, anything new, you don't know.
Some people don't have that kind of a brain that can remember all the rules, though. Yeah. So I do get why they've changed some of them.
Everyone seems to have managed previously. Like, the fact you don't know something when you're learning it is fine, and then you realise actually there's context here. There's no space behind it, so that in front of it. Sorry, so that's not a full stop because. And look, it says aster. I wonder if this is a dis or a full stop. That must take about a microsecond to process before you realise what it is. And as Warren said, yes, lots of sighted experts have told us what Braille should be. So thanks for that.
Yeah, but I do think sometimes it's nice to know what a print thing looks like, sort of, with some of these signs that show. But some of them are a bit complicated. I agree as well. So, but I like it for using on my phone. If I'm texting and things, if I'm using my Braille display, because then I can, like, if someone puts a smiley or something, I can read what that is, because the brackets are, otherwise you can accidentally send someone a sad face instead of a smiley face, for example. So that's why I switched over for phone use.
There has to be a sad face before you could get a smiley face. So without a sad face, there will never be a smiley face. You know what I mean? So
no,
if you're
is that like a sunshine and rain thing?
Well, what I'm saying,
I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Or something.
No,
because
what
the
I'm
first bracket will be the left bracket, so you have to
here's what I'm saying. If there was no night, there was no darkness, for example, there wouldn't be light. So there can be a smiley without a sad face. So if you
Yeah.
mistakenly send someone a sad face, it's okay. It wasn't intended.
Yeah, you have to. So there has to be sunshine after the rain. That's what you're
Thank
saying,
you.
isn't it? Except in
Yeah.
Manchester, where there isn't, because it just rains. What I will say about the Grade 2 talkback Braille keyboard support is it a little bit sketchy. So in UK English Braille anyway, I haven't tried US yet. But if you type actually, what you get is accordingly, because AC by itself is according. And it doesn't recognize that it's only according if there's a space immediately after the C. So that feels liblouis to me. I don't know that they have used liblouis tables, but that error is riddled throughout liblouis. So I imagine they have. Hopefully they will fix it. Some other liblouis errors have been eliminated, so you can write hello without it being helitalo, which you can't always on the UK table in other scenarios. So I need to play with the US one a bit more, but at least it is there, and we can use proper Braille now and abandon this nonsense, which I accept some people like.
But what about accordingly?
Maybe it says actually.
Actually,
I should try. Is that right? I'd have to check the rule.
I don't know.
no,
I don't use.
it was.
I use
might be.
uncontracted Braille.
But I
Yeah.
could be wrong. It's not something I normally write.
No.
No.
I think. Yeah, interesting. I should go and find out somewhere. I don't quite
Yeah,
know
there you
where.
go. That's this week's homework for you,
Yeah,
Ed.
go and find out what the SEB rule is for accordingly.
What will happen is that we'll feature some of these new features in the talkback highlights.
Other new things to point out about Braille is you have more gestures now on the talkback Braille keyboard. So you can edit text, manipulate text, cut it, copy it, move it, navigate, edit fields more than you previously could without having to exit the keyboard. It's become a little bit like advanced Braille keyboard in that regard.
I think that is huge. I like that.
Yeah, it's really nice.
That's why I haven't liked the Braille keyboard on the actual phone, because every time you want to alter something or something, you have to get rid of it, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, it was really bad. You couldn't even change, like swiping up and down with one finger would go character by character, but you couldn't even change that to words from within the keyboard. You'd have to leave the keyboard, change your granularity to words, and then go back into the keyboard.
Oh man, this is why I never bothered with it.
Yeah, now you can do all of that from in the keyboard. You can change your granularity by swiping with 3 fingers to either words, characters, lines, or paragraphs. And then in addition to that, you have gestures for each individual gesture is specifically for navigating by characters, words, and lines, and also selecting by characters, words, and lines. And then there's a gesture for beginning of field, a gesture for end of field, and then cut, copy, paste, select all. You can do pretty much everything now from within the keyboard, which is awesome.
One thing I didn't quite understand is you seem to be able to navigate by word. If you can do that, why do you need to be able to adjust granularity? I mean, I don't mind that you can adjust granularity, but sort of what's the point if you've built in the navigation anyway?
Yeah, true. But you can't, I would only use the navigation, the granularity for paragraphs because there's no gesture for paragraphs. But you're right, there are gestures now for words, lines, and characters. But you can do it either way.
I read that and I'm like, fine, but why did you just have to gesture a paragraph and save yourself a job? I don't get
but it's nice to have choices though and different ways to do things.
Yeah, it makes the thing more complicated, but yeah, it doesn't harm, does it? The one thing,
but in a way, it might mean that someone doesn't have to remember all the different gestures; they can just change it when they want, and that'd probably be what I would do.
Yeah. The one thing I still don't think we have, do we? Unless sort of granularity has given it to us. Can you do a spell check from the Braille keyboard?
No, I don't think you can. You'd have to back out of it and do it the old-fashioned way from 13.1.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I didn't go in and try it, but I guess that's something that would have been good to see.
I think that overall, it's a nice change, and things can only get better and better. And so, if we, feedback, folks, if there are things that you're finding that not working right, then give that feedback, and I think we'll get better from here. And these things were, we didn't expect that they were going to be making these huge changes, and so I'm an optimist that things are going to get better.
Yep. The other thing to mention, and I haven't looked at these, so if anyone else has, but apparently you have more Braille display commands now than you used to have. Similar to, I guess, adding gestures. They've added Braille commands. I don't know what those new ones do. I don't know if anyone else has had a look. Doesn't sound like it, but if you have Android 14 Beta 3 and you have a Braille display, you might want to go and have a look, have a play with those, see if it interests you, the things they've added there. But a good Braille focused update, and it's nice to see because talkback did lag, I think, behind iOS, which itself wasn't brilliant for Braille support. So nice to see developments in that area.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely the focus of this update, it seems like. But I'll just mention a couple other little things that I've noticed that are different. One being that there's a new option in Verbosity for download, like updates for things that are changing. I don't remember how they word it, but like download progress, you can turn that on or off. Then you can now add Braille display settings to the talkback menu if you want to get to it quicker. And in fact, I think it's there by default now. And also you can remove actions from your reading controls now if you want. So if you want to go back to the old way of using actions in a menu, instead of having your reading control automatically changed back to actions every time talkback's focus lands on something that is an action, then you have the option now. And also, you can assign raise accessibility volume and lower accessibility volume to any gesture you want. So if you're one of those people that is annoyed that you now have to hold one finger on the screen and press the volume keys to change the accessibility volume, you now have the option to assign your own gestures to do that. And then the last thing I noticed was you can choose a 24-hour clock in the advanced settings, which is when you turn your screen on, it'll tell you the clock in 24-hour format rather than AM, PM if you want it to.
That's a talkback thing rather than a clock thing, is it? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh. I assumed it just took the time from whatever your clock was.
Yeah, I thought so too, and I tried it out, but it doesn't. It apparently it's something that's built into talkback.
Oh.
I kind of find that unnecessary. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but what's the point, really?